Y2K is the new horror comedy from writer-director Kyle Mooney, being released by A24. This one stars Jaeden Martell, Julian Dennison, and Rachel Zegler in a film about a disastrous Y2K scenario, the one that we all feared, I guess. Technology coming to ruin all of our lives.
Yeah.
It is a film in the mold of something like This Is the End, where lots of things go wrong simultaneously. Society collapses, and partiers are left running into the cold, dark night with nothing but their wits. I think there was a lot of anticipation for this one. This was one of the early movies they screened here at South by Southwest. Did this movie live up to your hype for it?
I would say it did not live up to the hype, sadly. I think it started strong. It started like it was going to live up to the hype because, like, there's a combination. Like, you and me, we're the same age. Yeah. So we have very clear memories, I imagine, of that what people thought was going to happen when things rolled over. Like, we literally thought computers could not handle going from a 1 to a 2.
Yeah, that planes would fall out of the sky and the global information system collapse.
Just ridiculous. People thought, like, credit card stuff was going to get wiped. Like, it was, like, wild. They thought it was going to be a whole collapse. So seeing that kind of realized through a movie while also kind of getting these, like, throwbacks to things like, you know, like AIM again and just, like, certain music choices and just, like, vibes like that. It was, like, very cool, very exciting. It was a little bit surreal that, like, the person next to me, somebody said something and I looked at her, I was like, were you not alive? And she was like, no. And I was like,
2000.
But you're here alone? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, you're allowed to be alone and you weren't alive in the year 2000? Oh, no, that's right. We're 2024. Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
That hurt. It hurt me inside.
Definitely makes me feel old.
Yeah, very old. But
they're not eligible for the youth pass starting next year. How does that feel?
Not. It's so weird. But it was like, I love the beginning of this movie. I think it does start so strong. It does have a lot of the prototypical, like, this is the kind of nerdy guy who, heart of gold, the girl, like, Rachel Zegler is that, like, she's the popular girl, but she's actually really nice, and there's nothing wrong about her.
Super bad.
I was about to say a little bit of a super bad vibe starting off with the friendship.
That's exactly it. You know, the nerdy friendship, it's really cute. They make these little figurines of, like, that 70s show character, and, like, that people don't actually always acknowledge how much of a stranglehold that 70s show really had for a while. Like, that was, like, one of the biggest shows out there. And it's just, like, so there's a lot of really fun moments as it's building into it. I really believe it. Just the dynamic between people trying to, like, build, like the relationships and just make it through high school and get invited to parties, kind of like the Superbad and like Booksmart, nerdy kids, just, we're going to go even if we're not invited. We're just going to go, you know? So it's, like, really starting strong. And then it is, unfortunately, kind of when it starts flipping more into the horror side of thing that the movie does lose it for quite a bit. There's a decision made early on that we will not spoil that kind of just derails the movie.
It takes a lot of the air out of the movie.
And I think they could, for a while I was really hoping that they were going to go back on it. I thought because it's a horror comedy. You don't have to be so grounded in reality that if something looks like it happened, it doesn't need to have actually happened. And there's, like, you know, there's certain song uses and I'm like, it would have set up for that so perfectly. You play that song in the background and then something happens and you're like, yes, perfect, this is what I needed. And that's not what happens. Sadly, it kind of turns into, like, more of a, not memorial type thing, but just kind of like this is how we're gonna, like, emotionally get together in the end. Still a lot of fun moments though. I do like the resolution, how it ends up playing out in the end, and certain characters that appear are fun. It does kind of have this, like, kind of like fun party vibe movie that I feel like if you were just kind of, like, all vibing and drinking and talking, like, the shortcomings might not be as noticeable. But yeah, sorry, I'm totally stealing the microphone. But just, I don't think it's a bad movie by any mean. I do think it hits a lull. I do think it's just going to be, like, fun for people of, I don't know, our generation, just to kind of have the beginning. I don't know how people that have no frame of reference for that time are going to engage with it. That's what I would like to know. And I need honest reviews. Yeah,
because it's also, like, it has a lot of those touchstones of the, like, you know, late 90s, early aughts, but it's not quite like a full recreation of it in the way that, like, Dee Dee felt like it was transporting us back to 2008. Right.
Yeah. Ooh.
And this movie, like, there are things that they include that happened a little bit after the year 2000. There's like a flash animation that's a little bit more like late 2000s.
Yeah, there's a song that literally was made for the Queen of the Dam soundtrack, and that came out in 2003.
Yeah, something like that. I
Yeah,
mean, definitely
so-
not 2000.
Yeah, definitely not 2000.
Y2K era.
Yeah,
So,
so-
like, but it is a looser movie than those other films we're mentioning. It's a horror comedy, so I don't want to nitpick those elements. The elements that I want to nitpick are the comedy, the horror, which did not work for me.
That's fair.
There are some like bursts of stupidity that are funny in like an SNL blunt way. I mean, it makes sense
Some of
given
it worked
Kyle
for me.
Mooney's background.
For sure.
You have characters like bravely attempting a thing and then suddenly getting undercut, which I don't know, pretty faithfully works in comedies. I just felt like it really went nowhere. It had about as much depth as an SNL sketch, and I almost wish it stayed as something like that. Because it has this whole element of like technology coming to sort of kill them, and then it doesn't really do any. It's just kind of like a chase movie that's very unmotivated. The characters are just sort of, in this bubble, and I don't know. It felt very, very unmotivated to me.
No, I can totally agree with that. I will admit I was a little not drunk, just tipsy, very tipsy.
You're enjoying yourself.
I was enjoying myself.
We're at South by Southwest.
I was enjoying myself that evening. So I do think, walking out, I think I enjoyed it more than I might have had I gone in stone cold sober, which is fine, I guess. But I agree. It does kind of have like this aimlessness to it that I think they all try to bring back to one character, that it would have just been better if that character was just present the entire time. That's kind of like one of the bigger issues with that movie. I still think it's like worth the watch, like I think this is going to be like, I'm assuming it's getting a theatrical release. I think they're still deciding what to do with it.
Right? So.
But they don't know when it is yet. I did ask. They aren't sure yet. So it's interesting. I do want, and I want genuine reactions. I would love to talk to somebody who is kind of more of like the current Gen Z, or who are people who are their age right now, that aren't Rachel Zegler fans. I need you to not be a fan of Rachel to tell me what you think of the movie. Because she's great in it, but that's kind of what everybody's defaulting to right now.
Yes, I feel like people are saying Rachel Zegler is great to avoid saying this movie's bad.
That's fair.
Art, you have some Kyle Mooney appreciation from your Brigsby days.
Yeah, this was in my top 3.
Yeah, I know. We were stoked. We were excited for this.
So,
I told Mooney that.
I know.
I told him in person.
You were like, Arturo Zach Jr.
Yeah.
is looking forward to your movie. Man, I struggled to give it 3 stars. Like, it got rough.
Yeah.
There's this bit for Stranger Things and all the 80s stuff where you're like, oh, this is just nostalgia bait. And now it's our era that's getting the full nostalgia bait. I know you were saying, you guys had mentioned Dee Dee. Dee Dee feels like we're in that time period. And it's like, oh, this is a period piece.
Yes.
What's happening here? What is this kid going to do to get through AIM or all this other stuff that's happening?
Using Facebook to get
This had nothing to do with nothing. This was just memories. Like you said, the reason, what is it? It's not anachronistic, but the memory that he's having of music being played at that time period are memories that he's confusing from 01 to the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's like, got it. That's your whole approach to this thing.
It's the vibe. He wanted the vibe of the goth kids. We're going to use, Jonathan Davis' song from Queen of the Dam.
Exactly.
Right.
I think he blew into a cartridge while the game was still on. He just needed to show you blowing into a cartridge.
A little
they
bit
showed a
like
Tamagotchi just to show who brought the Tamagotchi.
I like this.
And it was a lot of that where I was just like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
If you don't know any of this, does it matter to you? So then it got to the points of the 90s that meant dick to me. I did not understand some of the bands. I did not understand some of those people. And then they become a pivotal part of the movie. And I'm like, oh, this is him just venting.
This is for elder millennials.
This is for Kyle Mooney.
It's for Kyle Mooney. And it's weird because I'd say it's for elder millennials, but I also feel like a lot of them might not like it. I feel like it's for elder millennials who might have like young teen kids right now.
Right. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Like my friends who had kids out of high school.
I'm struggling to think of who the audience is because it's got this real base level to the comedy.
Because this is the audience right here.
And it worked.
And
what worked for me did work for me. It's kind of when they abandoned it, because like I remember the girls wearing the red backwards cap, and I was like, "That's Fred Durst."
There's a lot of funny
stuff. That's Fred
in there.
Durst, and then that's Fred Durst.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there's some really good bits.
Yeah.
I keep going back to the idea of it as like an SNL sketch that got extended, unfortunately,
because
there are moments that are funny, but it's not. Yeah. It doesn't feel like moments that are being built to. It feels just like this was a good joke,
and
let's put this joke.
There is a basketball hoop that's on the floor, like a railing.
Yeah,
that scene is like 5 seconds. It's funny.
It's funny.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
And then like nothing in the story makes sense. All the heart is completely gone. And something like Superbad or Booksmart, that is something you keep.
You
I
need
did
the
not care
heart.
for any of the characters by the end of this movie. It's really over the top SNL sketch type stupidity, which
Yeah.
is, you know, maybe good for a short, but for a feature,
Yeah,
holy
I almost
smokes.
wish in some points it went dumber, because when they
Yes,
take
it
away
needed to go
There you
dumber.
go.
when they take away that like stupid sense of humor and try to like give you the story of
Yeah.
this nerd, whatever, it just doesn't. There's no character there for you to actually latch onto.
I agree.
The way that the story progresses and how they ultimately like overcome things in the end, just sort
Yeah.
of. It's like thrown out there. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like logical.
Yeah,
No, I
and we
agree.
know it's going to be dumb and
Yeah.
everything, but like
Make
you're
it dumber.
saying, you
go full
need to-
bottoms. Go full bottoms.
Right,
Which is kind of what I was
exactly.
expecting it to be.
I think South by was too, given the way they
yeah,
programmed
it got the
this movie.
Saturday night prime Paramount slot, and honestly, it was full. It deserved that, at least for the viewership that was going to be
Yeah.
there.
Also, awkward
yeah.
Q&A.
Very
One of the
awkward.
most awkward
That was an
Q&As for a young cast that's going
Fred
at it.
Fred Durst was doing a bit where he was acting as if all the events in the movie were
real. They must have told him to do it.
And he's not that talented at comedy.
No.
It
and
worked
B,
for me.
nobody got what
I
he
got
was
it.
What'd they
doing
say in
on
Sing Sing?
stage.
I got it.
I'm not taking the comedic role. That's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
I got it though. I was like, oh, I get it, but I was again not drunk.
Yeah.
Just a little
Yeah, he was up on stage. He was like completely. I just got videos of him just.
He's funny.
Just standing like that. He looked like he was about to go rolling.
It's very
into the
interesting
crowd.
for him to be in two movies with such vastly different performances to the point that he's like even knowing it's him in another movie, he's
Yeah,
unrecognizable.
so mention the other one for the other movie because I did not
TV
believe
Glow.
you. Like that, him playing the father in that shows me that he's got something if you have the right director.
Jane talked about that. Jane literally said, I need someone who, I can't even remember what they said, but it was like
what a
so
director, yeah.
perfect. It was just something like,
To know that was the
yeah,
ingredient
it was
she-
like, I
they
need
needed.
someone that's just going to be so uncharacteristic for this, but it's such a presence.
Exactly. And what Kyle Mooney did was the complete opposite. It was his memory of the guy, and it's like he
It's gonna
got
work for
a
people who
Make a
know
Wish
Fred.
Day with him to just do the goofiest things in the movie, and it was not funny for me.
It worked for me because it's like, I knew, because like I said, there's a girl wearing a backwards red hat, and I was like,
saw it
that
coming.
is such a Fred Durst. I didn't think he was going to be in the movie. I thought that was going to be my question. I was going to be like, was the backwards red hat supposed to be a Fred Durst thing? And then Fred Durst shows up, and I was like, well, obviously. Also would have ended the movie with a different song. It was,
Exactly. That's
I would have done that as a bit, do a couple things, and then him be like, nah, break shit, you know,
Right,
like.
right.
So that it makes sense thematically with what's happening with the rest of the movie, but either way.
I know people like Rachel. Shout out Julian Dennison. The
Ah,
boy's just
Julian's a
been coming up.
king.
We're missing that TIFF movie that he did a couple
I
years
saw it.
ago.
Uproar,
Was it
yeah.
good?
I saw Uproar, that was this year.
It actually just came out on VOD. Like,
I liked
Really?
it. I thought it was
But it was last year, TIFF, right?
last year.
2023. Yeah, I liked it. I think it was a little messy. I think there was a lot of ideas, and I don't know how well the movie fully pulled them together. But he's great as always.
Yeah.
A lot of heart.
He always like jumps off the screen.
He does,
And-
especially with those
And on
roles. where-
stage. He was funny on
Yes, especially in those roles where he's allowed to kind of be engaging with his heritage, his Polynesian heritage from New Zealand and whatnot. But yeah, no, he was funny in this. He had no patience for dumb questions.
Yes, he had no patience for dumb questions.
But he was answering them in a funny, nice way, not in a way that you felt like, yeah.
He even does dumb stuff in the movie that I thought was actually pretty funny.
I agree.
And they're like elongated bits that I'm like, it's your essence, your vibe, your approach to it that makes you singing a cover of like the most belligerent 90s song.
I know.
Yeah.
Funny.
Funny.
And then, yeah, you just need the sauce, and he's got the sauce.
He's
It
got
didn't
the
matter what he was
sauce,
doing. And
so-
you know, shout out Jaeden. I know you guys got
I
to see
like-
him in the
Yeah.
other movie as well.
Yeah,
Arcadian.
He's a good
Arcadian.
actor.
I
He's a
like
good
Jaeden.
actor.
It's Jaeden is as good as they're using him.
Yes, I think Jaden is a good actor who didn't have a whole lot to do in this
didn't.
movie.
As the lead, which is
He
so
plays
weird.
straight comedy well.
Yeah,
He's not Michael
Well,
Cera.
He's one of those like empty lead characters
yeah.
that's there for other people to work
Bounce
off
off
of, and,
of.
Exactly,
and
but-
part of what doesn't work is there's also not much of a character for Rachel Zegler. Like she's kind of just like
That's the thing.
you know, she's just sort of like the dream girl, and she's got like this slight techie side
The
of this.
walk
And she's really
and
nice.
talk that they did in the forest about like how tough it is to be popular. I know they make fun of her, but it was like that was a rough conversation
Yeah.
to have her say.
And
Because
like,
we've
it's not,
seen
not
that
to-
done better this festival.
Exactly,
Yeah.
just not it's not her fault. It's just
It's not her fault. She's great and nice.
Yeah.
But
It's more so the story. Also,
yeah.
Kyle Mooney is in the movie.
he's in the movie.
A lot. And he's funny sometimes, but other times it's just like, bro,
Well, it's
Why are
one of the
you-
only
what's
like
happening?
distinct comedic characters, like a character where it's like I get what your joke is,
Yeah.
but they lean on
It's the
it
same
Yeah.
a lot.
I'm gonna hit you with this. We have two movies that got double directors, both kind of comedies. Kazzy David or him.
Did we see this on the same day as well?
No.
No?
I
Yeah,
hope
it
not.
was. Yeah, it was same day. That was the same
I
day.
think
That
it
was
was the
Saturday.
first and
That
last
was the
movie we
Saturday.
saw on Saturday.
Yeah.
Huge gulf between them.
Very.
I ended up going 2 stars on Y2K. I did not like this movie.
I was at a 3.5, and I bumped it down to a 3 as of right now.
So you think Cassie David directing, acting better than
Much better.
Kyle Mooney
Yeah.
directing, acting?
Yeah,
There's
because I also do think that like Cassie knows her strengths, but then also wasn't arrogant enough to make herself the lead.
Yeah. Right.
Not that I think that Kyle Mooney
Yeah.
was arrogant. That wasn't what I was trying to say. But
No.
sometimes people do that and they write themselves into the lead, and it's a problem.
No, you're right. Cassie shared the screen with some other people.
She
This
shared.
man had some shots just on his own.
That's right.
Lines he's been waiting to say. on
They
screen for a
injected a
while.
Kyle Mooney sketch into this
Okay,
longer movie.
yeah, that's fair.
Through and through. Like if SNL like was cutting out his scenes, he's like,
Yes.
I get to put every single one
Yeah.
back in. So I'm happy for him. He gave me Brigsby Bear,
Yeah.
obviously with better directing
Yeah.
from
David
the
Carey.
boy he had. But I'm happy for him. It was a
Yeah.
fun night. You had a blast.
I had a blast. I had a good night.
I didn't hate it. I'm like straggling right there at a 3 because there were some jokes that really did hit.
yeah.
But there's too much dumb, and it makes me want to go to a 2.5 at all. So I'm
should.
being nice right now at a 3.
So my thing is that it's not rotten. When I put it, it's not going to be a rotten review for me on a Rotten Tomatoes, but it is kind of one of those ones where you wish they had it's starting to go bad. Mm-hmm. It's
should be an in-between.
a little
They
too
could
ripe. It's a
tighten
little
it up.
overripe. Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs some tightening. I do think it just needs a little bit more direction in the middle, and I just needed someone to be like, "Why did you make this decision? That was a terrible decision." And I'm sure someone was like, "But that's
They
going
need
to be
to
the
change that. We
emotional
all
through
agree on
line."
that.
You could have done something else for the emotional through line. There's other ways to
better.
handle this. Yeah, that's kind of my big thing there.
I will say.
We'll say.
I completely blinked on what I was about to say, but I was going to say something. It was really profound, and when I remember
I believe it. Perfunctory even.
Well, let's just react like you just said or something. Wow.
Whoa, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
that puts the whole movie in a new light.
100%.
Exactly.
I can't remember what it was.
I want to revisit it for sure. Like I will say, like I was a little tired. Again, not drunk, but and I was awake. I stayed awake the whole time, so it was good. I got real cozy. I was like,
Let's put that as a poster. Y2K, I stayed awake the whole time.
And then the second one, IMDb does have it at 6.9, so mission accomplished.
yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna have a lot of fun with it. I don't think it's necessarily
Yeah.
doing anything over the top special. If you like horror comedies, obviously it's worth checking out. I'm a big fan of that genre to begin with, so
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be a little bit easier on it. I would say we were kind of saying it's similar to Hell of a Summer, but Hell of a Summer definitely has more of a consistent through line. It is better from start to finish in that, but I think they both make similar mistakes where they do something at a
Yeah.
point where they should have held back longer. You just need to hold back on certain things longer for either better horror, better comedy, better soul, just and that's kind of the big spirit.
Spirituality.
Just those are the kind of the issues here.
I like
It's
what Zach
yeah.
said about this is the end. I think that's actually a really
Yeah, it
good
feels like that.
comparison.
It feels like that.
And where they split is where I think Y2K goes bad because
Yeah.
at least that one had the ability, the one Zach mentioned,
yeah,
to
this is the
to rely on its own jokes and
Yeah.
to rely on what we like know them to be.
Yeah.
And here I feel we're still setting up characters like what is the girl to the group?
Yeah.
Who wears the Fred Durst hat? Who is Rachel Zegler other than Rachel Zegler, the
Yeah.
cute girl in the movie?
Yeah.
Jaeden Martell is always Jaeden Martell,
Jaeden
right?
Martell, He's different in Arcadian actually. He does
Actually?
he's got
Ooh.
they gave him more to work with there.
Well, he wasn't different here, and
No,
that's
he
the thing.
wasn't, yeah.
The Y2K.
He's cool.
One of my most anticipated, and I hope it still hits for people when it comes out.
I think it will for some people. I think it will. But just I'd say go in with like good expectations. I
Tempered
would say
expectations.
it feels like a Netflix movie. I know it's an A24 movie, and I don't even mean that as an insult because the best horror comedy out of the festival, Netflix did pick up, and it is a Netflix movie.
Keep with the 90s. It's like a
You know?
Walmart VHS.
yeah.
bundle. Did they have those back in the day?
You know what they did
Rental
have in this
discount.
movie, which I appreciated? A video rental store that wasn't a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Felt very like Scream.
It feels
You
like
get the
anytime we're
Scream.
doing a period piece where you have to be in a video rental store, it's like, let's get the old Blockbuster logo out.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought some of the stuff that they did online, there was like they brought it back to Dancing Baby. Again,
Yeah.
low hanging fruit stuff,
Yeah.
but it's all there. And I
It's
thought we
fun.
had a couple of reactions from people.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah. Fun.
Got a bunch of confused kids sitting next to Amanda.
There's one girl. She was really nice. She was like, because I was like, I'm drunk. I'll sit 2 seats away from you. She's like, no, you're better than like a weird guy. And I was like, your funeral, okay.
All right, so mixed to negative, I think, across the board. On
Yeah, I just wish the apocalypse did happen so we wouldn't have to.
Or yeah, I don't know. It's kind of disappointing because this is gonna sound like the meanest thing I say.
Please.
I think it's kind of depressing that this has now been done and it's gonna be hard for someone else to do it better.
Ooh. Oh, it's a
It's
good
a
name to
good
take.
concept.
Y2K.
Y2K, and just that whole thing. Because I remember being at daycare. Because I went I went to like an after school daycare. It was like summer. Yeah, it was winter. So it was like, and we were like really freaking out that like weird things were going to happen, and it was like it almost. In some ways, it had the same kind of buzz, and this is going to sound not remotely similar, but being like 1 year later, 9/11, and just the way that people were like, "This is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and they're going to try to blow up our nuclear factory because we're right there, we're so close." And it's like it was that kind of weird buzz where we legitimately didn't understand what was going to happen, but like people were actually scared.
Rachel brought up 2012. I thought that was also
2012,
another good one.
Yeah.
I was like,
because that would be the
serious.
closest thing for like. But even then, like I do think Y2K was like more than 2012.
Y2K was definitely big.
Y2K was founded in a belief that was not just like some ancient Mayan calendar.
Exactly.
said.
It was
like
like
something we've been messing up the last 30 years with our
we
digits.
didn't think the computers were going to come to life. We thought everything was going to crash and it was going to ruin like the housing markets. It was going to destroy credit cards. It was going to just
It
any
was like a
records
task force from the White House too,
Yeah.
which obviously is going to scare people. You're like, wait, what?
That's what I mean. Like they really just had no.
There's
idea
a good
what was gonna
documentary on
happen when it rolled
HBO
over.
that they put out right at the end of last year. If you wanted some context,
Oh,
to it,
yeah,
it does a
yeah.
good job with it. So some homework before Y2K.
Homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, do some homework. Oh yeah.
That's good recommendation for a high school based movie, right? Homework.
Yeah, totally.